Someone asked me if I was injured when I reposted the video of me cleaning 75. It's like, you coming back from an injury? Dick.
That makes me so happy. God damn. Ring that bell.
Good morning, Misfits. This is the Unprepared podcast by Misfit Athletics, where I come up with a topic before the show, but I do not share it with my co-hosts or guests in hopes to elicit a genuine off-the-cuff conversation. Gentlemen. Sure.
Yo.
Hunter, how are we doing this morning?
Oh, you're looking at it.
All right.
That good, huh?
That
Yeah.
good?
Congratulations to PR this morning.
Sure. Have you getting any sleep? Are the rumors true? Do babies just yell all through the night?
They do yell most of the night, but my wife's way too nice. She just lets me sleep.
Zion, on the other hand, sleeping like a baby. It's just
She lets me sleep like all the time, and I'm like, I'll sleep through a bomb going off, so please wake me up. So like, every once in a while she'll wake me up, but she's a trooper, so she's taking care of the little guy and giving me spells here and there. But we're working on getting 3 consecutive hours right now. That's our goal.
Oh my goodness.
It's delightful.
Bless you. If I came in here and sat in this seat and I couldn't even do the intro if I didn't get my beauty sleep. It would be a serious problem. Before we get started, we got a few exciting things to talk about. The beginning of I don't know what we're calling it these days, COVID, pandemic, quarantine, shutdown, whatever. We weren't able to really put out a lot of YouTube content because I was in my basement. You were at your kitchen table. Smashing pairs of headphones and stuff.
It would look great.
Yeah.
I wish we had a clip of that.
I'm glad you don't.
I have that photo still. I have the photo of just the one ear with like the dangling piece.
We've got to be able to contact Slack. They've got that data. Like, hey, we need you to find the video from.
It's encrypted, bro.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
encrypted.
sure. Yeah.
So anyways,
Putin has it.
when you're living in the world of YouTube channels and whatnot, when you don't post for a while, you get seated kind of low. So if you want to support the podcast and Misfit Athletics and the YouTube channel and all the free content we put out, this podcast is back on YouTube, so you guys can actually watch it. I like doing that, like while I'm working, hanging out, like all the YouTube apps that they have on the smart TVs now. It's kind of cool to throw that up and look at that. And then, our tip videos and workout demos and all that stuff is back up on our YouTube channel. So youtube.com/Misfit Athletics, or you can just search for Misfit Athletics on YouTube, give a subscribe, a like, all that good stuff. The other announcement is extremely exciting, and Hunter and Sherb can talk about it a little bit more. But just from my perspective, we've been offering through Team Misfit affiliate programming now for a long time. We've been programming for gyms since, Sherb, all the way back to like 2014.
I was going to say late 2014 or early 2015. So it's been a few years.
So we've been programming for a lot of gyms. A lot of the people listening to this podcast are loyal customers. So thank you. But we've offered for a while both what we call a competitor program for the affiliate and the GPP program. And we've been talking about it for a long time, just this idea of trying to, we love community-based fitness around here. We think that that's one of the reasons why things work so well, all the way from someone starting a beginner's class all the way up to, training CrossFit Games athletes. We think that the community feel is really important. So we went back to the drawing board a little bit, and we have been testing a single program that takes the best elements of the competitor program and the GPP program and puts them together into one. We've been testing it here at Misfit Gym Portland for the better part of a year and had some pretty amazing results. So moving forward, starting with phase 8, Hunter, what's the date that this starts?
November 2nd, but when we upload it and Sugar Waters get it, it'll be actually next week's. Once we upload next week's stuff for Sugar Wad, they'll start to see the kind of new structure, which won't look all that different to most people. It's more just us giving you a heads up and giving a little more detail as to how it's structured. And then when we upload that PDF document to teammisfit.com, it'll be the same for both subscribers, and that'll happen next week at some point. Yeah. So we have one program now.
Correct.
Yep, we have one program. And the exciting thing that's more customer facing is it's $125 a month for either program. So before we were at $189 and $149.
Yep.
So no matter who you are, what program you've been on, are going to be getting more for less money.
Yep.
So, sort of bringing that aggregate number down. So more for less money, and the best affiliate programming we've ever put together. We really believe in this. We have believed in this idea for a long time, but wanted to have that true sample size to talk to members, to talk to all of our coaches. And this is the biggest change that we've made in a while with the affiliate programming, and it's been going really well. So for any of the listeners out there that program for themselves or use another service or kind of on the fence for all this stuff, that's why we offer the free trials, both Misfit Athletics and Team Misfit. You can get 2 weeks for free of this program through a free trial, either on teammisfit.com or sugarwad.com, depending on which service you want to use. So at the very least, you can sign up and check it out. Yeah. Like anyone can sign up and check it out. And we do that because of the fact that we believe in it so much. We want to get eyes on this thing so people can be like, wow, this really is different. I like the changes here and the philosophy behind it. And we're going to continue over the course of, hopefully forever, but especially over the course of the next few months to really explain what we're trying to do and how we're doing it. But you guys can talk about it a little bit more if you want, but it's exciting. It works really well. It costs less money.
Yeah, I think the important things is like for current subscribers, it's like, well, hold on, like change is sometimes difficult, and it's not changing all that much for what you get. Your competitor subscribers, you're still going to get the same number of training pieces, plus or minus one or two, like each day. So you'll still get the volume that if you are running that 90-minute class, you do have the athletes who want to do a little bit more after class. You're still going to get that extra piece. And for the GPP subscribers, you're going to see like a touch more structure to the strength work, but still in a very GPP-esque style. And you are also, because it's one program, you are still going to get that competitor extra piece to provide. Because we realize that, if you consider yourself a GPP gym, which is pretty much everybody, but if you're your GPP subscriber, odds are there's probably still one or two clients, or maybe it's a couple coaches or whatever, who want a little bit more structure with some additional training pieces, and that's where you can get that. And you can absolutely choose to use that or not use it at all. It doesn't cost you any extra, and you're still getting it for a little bit less. And then the other really nice thing that we're adding is a sixth training day. So previously we had for GPP, it was kind of Monday through Friday. Competitor was Monday through Wednesday with like the rest day on Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday. We realized that doesn't always work out for gyms, because like gyms aren't closed on Thursday and Sunday. We're open 6, 7, 8 days a week basically. And what you're paying for should reflect that. So you are going to get kind of that sixth day. And I think, again, like you're not going to see any reduction, and like we're still giving you the warm-ups, the descriptions, the videos and stuff. None of that's going to change. You are just getting what we think is a better product for less.
And to me, the strength work being a little bit more structured, again, just offers athletes at your affiliate one more opportunity to see how they're growing
Proof
as
of
people.
concept.
Exactly. You get a chance to go into the gym, focus on something, and you're still going to hit it once or twice a week. You get better at it. You retest it. You see your progress. And, we love to use fitness benchmarks like Fran and Helen, all the old CrossFit benchmarks, as well as some of ours. But sometimes people are like, I want to know that I'm also getting stronger. And then outside of like a complex here and there, people are like, I don't know, because in GPP, it feels like it kind of pops up randomly. Well, now we're going to have a little bit more structure. And I think what's going to be exciting for people is to have that like 7-week progression where they see, all right, this is the one thing we're going to try to focus on, and not like throw 15 things at you, but give you like 1 or 2 things to focus on and really see that growth. And I do think that, having used that model at both of our affiliates, the test and retest, that athletes really like to sink their teeth in when they have the opportunity to know that they're going to come back to that at the end of like 6 or 7 weeks to see that growth. And that is that little like carrot on a stick that keeps come back to the gym, because there's going to be something else that we're doing.
I would say the last thing that I want to add here is the strength work has developed to become what we know works, and what we know from our gym's feedback of what is realistic for an actual gym member. So for us, for the longest time, it's like we know how to get people stronger. We get CrossFit Games athletes to lift X, Y, and Z. Okay, here's a very similar thing. And it's like, well, I have a client that can never come on Mondays. So like linear progression squatting, that's every single Monday. What's the guy supposed to do? So you guys have developed a system where there's rotations to the days and not everything is, cookie cutter, on this day, on that day, and so on. And, we've gotten this feedback both from the people that we program for affiliate wise, but also sort of ourselves, because our Portland gym and our Wyndham gym are so different. They're a lot more working class people in Wyndham, aside from like Portland has more students and things of that nature, that just can't get to certain times. And it's like, I don't know what my percentage is here, or like, I really would like to back squat, but you guys always put it on this day. So, that feedback is super important from all of our affiliates, and bringing that back together with how we know how to make people stronger. And like one of the ways is confidence, right? So if someone makes sure that they're checking off like, wow, I really did add like 15 pounds to my clean and jerk this phase, like that's really nice. So again, two kind of separate ideas that we finally, I think, really kind of landed on a way to hybridize and create the best affiliate program that we've put out before.
Yeah, I think the combination of like you're still getting the super effective conditioning pieces, the thought out strength work that's both structured but also kind of GPP friendly for what 99% of humans, just general humans, need, and then by adding that kind of rotational thing, as well as just modifying the total work that's in the class, it's super, super coach friendly. I think we've had probably the best feedback from our coaching staff as well as the members, as far as like with that rotating lift structure. Oh, I'm a coach. I only coach Monday, Tuesday. And you guys, it's always 5x5 back squat on Monday and snatch on Tuesday. Like I'm giving the same cues to the same athletes every Monday and Tuesday. Yeah. I'm checking out mentally. Like I want to be able to teach something different. So there was that. And just what you were saying, like, oh, I can never get to the gym on Monday. Like, not a big deal. Like back squat might be Wednesday next week or something like that. So I think just all of these concepts blended together is going to make a really good program. And also I would say this is a Misfit Athletics podcast. We are still we're going to do our due diligence and try to get 1 to 2 conditioning pieces per day or per week, that follow almost identically or very similar to a Misfit Athletics Metcon that line up. So competitor athletes, like, we like to follow Misfit Athletics. Like we got you covered in kind of the affiliate friendly, even more affiliate friendly manner.
Boom. TeamMisfit.com, SugarWOD Marketplace, search for, is it still Team Misfit, or is you search for Misfit Athletics and you get the whole offering?
In SugarWOD, Team Misfit affiliate programming, the Misfit affiliate program is what we're calling it, will be under the Misfit Athletics stuff. So if you go into the gym class programs in the marketplace, you find Misfit Athletics. That's where you'll see that. And we've got there'll be some more details to follow, especially for current subscribers, as to how to like kind of migrate over, make sure you're getting that new price point and whatnot. So be on the lookout for that.
Are you ready for the unprepared topic?
Yeah, guy.
Should you program and or coach yourself for yourself?
Ooh.
Quick answer, no. I mean, what do you think? I mean,
am I trying to compete?
This is the Unprepared podcast by Misfit Athletics, where we cover all angles of a topic. There are some ground rules here, so massive conflict of interest with the three of us here on this topic. I want you to take your sales hats off. I don't necessarily want you to take the hats off that you're a remote coach and doing all of these things, but your answer should not be colored by the fact that your paycheck may go up or down depending on what your answer is to this question. So if you want to tackle if someone is a competitor, what the answer is to this question, that's fine. But we're digging in. We're going through all of it.
Am I going first?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, probably not.
Are you talking about 4 competitors? Or are you talking about everyone?
Everyone. I think it probably applies to both. I think from the general member standpoint, we've realized that you gain so much by doing, 1, the things that you don't like to do, and 2, just getting exposure to so many different kind of components of fitness, that even like, I hate sitting on a rower for 20 minutes, and yet somehow doing that a few times per phase helps get you stronger. And that's a kind of basic example, and is a little more nuance to it, but yeah, I don't I don't think so. I think it's just too easy to fall into a trap of doing what you like to do, and there's a time and a place for that.
For a reason, right?
Yeah,
Like you're not going to know.
You even, and I think that's the thing. It's you even think that you're like, okay, I'm going to hit something that I don't want to do today, and it's like, are you really doing that, or are you sneaking that little like just a little nugget in there where you can like figure out a way to make this less difficult, or like less, or skew it more towards what you feel comfortable doing or what you want to do, and like. Yeah, I think there's too much.
Right off the cuff, when you said that, all I could think of is like if I was going to write a workout for myself and yesterday's gym programming was pistols and a sumo deadlift high pull, like there's no way in earth that I would ever program that for myself. But had Hunter sat down, wrote it, and then put it in the programming, yeah, I would do that because I do think there's a lot to that like GPP variance of hitting a bunch of different things. But I do think we fall into these traps of I only program this movement with that movement, or I only do this sort of rep scheme with this type of workout. And it just ends up being too much of I do the same thing over and over again, even though it feels like variance, it's not.
So my inspiration for this episode is in 3 parts. So I get messages fairly often from people who want like a sliver of coaching. Like they think that they've got like maybe A, B, C, and D figured out and E not figured out. And they're like, I only need help with this one thing.
Sure you do.
And to me, the issue here is, well, I'll keep going on the rest of my inspiration, and then I'll start running my suck, as Hunter likes to say.
Yeah.
So it's that. It's also people coming back from a hiatus, a long injury. You know, these times where someone might need to be a little bit nicer to themselves than a lot of really good competitors typically are. And then last but not least is like both my progression and then a lot of people that I know's progression in changing their goals to just be like, stay healthy, use this to like kind of stay sharp, that sort of thing. So, that's my context for this. It's all of these things kind of coming together. And the reason why I don't believe that a competitor should do this is the thing that we talk about on and on and on, but it's super important to me is this idea of the gas tank. Even if you are a really good programmer, and even if you are super honest with yourself and you know you're a good coach because you coach at your affiliate, or you do your own remote coaching, some athletes do that kind of thing. How much time and energy are you putting into something that is really kind of taking away from your time and energy that you're putting into the gym? Like if you really have to sit down and write your own custom program from scratch, like, preaching to the choir here, we have to do that fairly regularly. And it's a challenge.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. Sprinkle in some, subconscious, some unconscious bias, and you're really dealing with, not knowing the things that you're skipping. You won't know. Like that's the whole point of that phenomenon is like, you're positive that you're like, okay, I suck at running. I'm going to have this in here. But then every time you put it in, is it a cakewalk? Is it, paired with the wrong things, whatever. And then to me, like a serious problem is someone that either coaches themselves or we've talked about this in the past. A lot of people have like a quasi coach that's like a relative or someone really close to them, and talk about conflict of interest. There's really just some case studies that we've had where we've seen this sort of thing happen, and the personal relationship is too like well established to not like have these feelings about the person and like, why are you making me do this and that sort of thing. Yeah. So the coach athlete relationship is so delicate, needs to be developed properly. You need to, gain the trust of the athlete. You need to ask for it and then actually follow through and gain the trust with some proof of concept stuff. Hey, let's kick this weakness's ass like early on so I can show you that if you do want to specialize, we can go there. It's one of those things where, I think people will go to like maybe the Rich Froning model or something like that. And there's like a couple of answers to this. It's like, well, first of all, like,
are you Rich Froning?
There's only one Michael Jordan.
Rich, you listening?
But Michael Jordan had Dean Smith and Phil Jackson, two of the greatest coaches ever. Froning walked in the triple threes, and then Hinshaw made his way into that, community. And I think there's a lot more people involved in what's going on over there now than sort of what used to happen. So like there are these examples, but they're outliers. And then when you dig enough, they're honestly not even really outliers. They're just self-motivated people that if they don't find the help that they need, they sort of take over for themselves.
I think when you kind of started to, I think there's always the it depends. So there's always a massive gray area. If you're somebody who's
Change the name of the podcast to the gray area.
the gray area. No, I got an article.
We need
about
another
that.
podcast.
No,
We need a new podcast name.
God damn it. If you're somebody like you said, you're trying to change, maybe reframe the way you think about fitness. You're not somebody who's worried about competing. Like, odds are, like, if you're doing any form of CrossFit, like, you're probably setting yourself up really well to live a long, healthy life, assuming that other lifestyle factors are kind of in line with the same type of person who comes into a CrossFit gym. Like, would I love for you to occasionally sprint on the assault bike, like, or squat really heavy or deadlift really heavy or somewhere in between? Yeah, of course. But if you don't do that because you're writing your own program and it's just kind of like a day at a time, like, this is what I feel like doing, you're probably going to be fine. Like, yeah, you might jump into a competition or the open. You might not be as happy with your results, but in general, from just like a very basic health and wellness perspective, like, you could probably do a reasonable job, or even like randomly pick workouts off the internet. I don't recommend it, but I'm just saying, like, for those people where it's like, I just want to do something. Oh, that looks fun. I would always rather somebody do something fun that's, fitness related than see the workout and be like, nope, I'm going to skip it and just completely not train at all, because that's an easy trap to fall into as well.
It's a dichotomy between training and exercise. Like, I think you, at the beginning of your point,
good point.
You had someone who was coming back from an injury or starting back up, or maybe took a break after the CrossFit Games and is like, I should be moving around, but
or isn't happy with like their performance or a competition or something, and just like needs the confidence boost.
Yeah, and that mental hurdle of like getting back into doing all the things that you used to do can be a little bit daunting at first. You're like, oh man, I should be doing these things, but like, maybe I'm not there yet. There's absolutely nothing wrong with, like what you just said, picking some fun workouts and getting back into it, but recognize the difference between that being exercise versus training, where training has a specific goal in mind. So to me, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that athlete getting back into it and just said, I got to move around. It's funny because actually I was talking to Brandon about this exact topic, because, he just did the first stage of the CrossFit Games, didn't go as well as he'd hoped on some of the events. And I asked him, like, how are things going? What do you feel? And he's like, I'm just kind of exercising. I want to get, that passion back. And I really do think it's important for athletes to take that break here and there so they can like let their mental state kind of calm down, because it's a very active state to be in, to be thinking about all the things you need to do to be the best you can at the sport of fitness.
Yeah, it's really hard to force kind of that passion. Like, if you don't have it, like, you got to, that's a bigger
path.
conversation,
Dangerous
but
path
like,
to go down.
Yeah, if you don't, if you know
I don't mean as a topic.
Yeah, if you've got that underlying motivation and willpower, then yeah, there's obviously going to be days or even a week or two where it's like, I just like, I'm burnt out. I need kind of that mental reset. And if the difference between not doing anything and crawling into a hole and just coming in and doing like a bunch of stuff that you really like doing and can hammer, like, there's a lot to be said about there's a lot to be said about being able, like, putting that wheelhouse workout in your training and fucking smashing it to get that confidence back. And like,
so what you're talking about is, to me, where the coach and the programmer should still be around, but they need to be, I don't really know how to put this. They need to be experienced enough to realize when it's time to make these choices. And for me, like, the list is fairly long. I'm coming back from an injury. We have some athletes that, come back from a pregnancy and are trying to figure out whether they, want to get back into this or not. We've got people that get into a rut because, holy shit, talk about fucking Groundhog's Day. Like being a CrossFit competitor, like, you're doing it. So all of these people, whether you're in a rut, whether you're trying to get back into it, like, that's the amazing thing about GPP. Let's only do wheelhouse movements. Like, when you're doing your aerobic work, your fucking favorite machine, the thing that you obliterate. Because guess what? You do well, you get fit. You go into a Metcon, the monostructural movement that you like, the weightlifting movement that you like, the weight that you like, all of these things, you need to be able to give yourself, or your coach needs to be able to give you those times of year or times in your career where it's wheelhouse, wheelhouse, wheelhouse. And then all of those other pieces that float around out that like I either don't want to do or whatever, let's do them outside of intensity. Like let's put them on your, you hate the assault bike or you hate the C2 bike. So that's your flush day. There's zero expectations. You're going to get back into it. You're going to realize you're better than you thought you were, but like, let's go to that. I don't want to do this gymnastics movement anymore. Can you do an EMOM with sets of 2 or whatever it is? Holy crap. This is a spider falling from the sky. I know Sharp's scared of spiders.
Oh yeah.
Hilarious.
Leave him. Peter Parker, where you at, guy?
So like
Batted him.
those
Gone.
scenarios,
He's crawling across the desk now. He's coming for you, sure.
leaving
where
the studio.
I'm saying you still need a coach and a programmer or like a friend that knows what they're talking about. Like, I still think that's the answer to the question, but it's what's being provided to you is very different.
Yeah.
And if you have the kind of coach who's like, you're either doing this or we're not working together or whatever, when you're going through something like that, like that's not what we would consider
It's also
good remote coaching.
it's also super hard to be the athlete and coach in that scenario when it's like, when do I decide to, like, let's say you are that competitive athlete, like at what point do I decide that it's acceptable to say, like, I'm going to throw out all the weakness work and I'm just going to hammer my strengths. Like, that's a super difficult line to draw. And then like when you get like, okay, when do I get back into like, okay, I got to get back to the grind of doing the stuff that I don't like or the stuff that I haven't been hitting. Like,
If you're given permission, it feels a lot different.
yeah.
Like that guilt
Coach
that can
said,
be associated.
a lot of that, like just having that like kind of plausible deniability, like
A lot of weight lifted off your shoulders.
We talk about it a lot. Like we put a lot of onus on athletes, including especially remote athletes. Like, hey, I'm going to give you the program. We'll talk about it, but like, I'm not going to give you an excuse or say like, I'm not going to say like, I'm not going to take responsibility for your training, because you wouldn't want it that way. Like that way, when you succeed, the coach can and should be like, I just wrote the workout. I just gave you the occasional like little rudder steer to point toward your weaknesses, but you're the one who executed. But there is the time for the coach to be able to be like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, I got it. Don't worry about your score. I don't even want you to time the workout. Just do this and like get better. And you take that off of the athlete. And when you don't have that second or third party to do that, it's like you start to get lost. That gray area gets really, really big.
I mean, you're playing the role of basically the athlete psychologist. You're trying to get them into a headspace where they have the desire to want to go back and do these things for themselves. And we've talked about this a bunch about remote coaching, but that's primarily our job, is to make sure an athlete has the proper headspace that, can stay in the moment and can focus on what their, task at hand, versus just like running around with their head cut off going, I want to pick this and I want to pick that. I want to pick this. And for me, it's just like sometime in the year, it's okay to be like, hey, take affiliate class or, fuck off out of the gym for a couple of weeks. Let yourself get back in that headspace, but also being there to be a sounding board when they're like, all right, I'm thinking I'm getting ready to do this again. And then you sit down and you have a sincere conversation, or like, all right, well, tell me why you want to do this, and making sure that they've bought in again, because again, you don't want to be that coach doing all this work and then we're like, nah, I'm good. Like, because we've all been in that situation where an athlete comes to you like hungry, ready to do something, and then for whatever reason, job stress, money issues, whatever is going on, it's like, actually, I gotta like put a pause on that. And you've already put the time in to be like, all right, we're ready to get you going again, and they need a little bit more time. So for me, it's just about making sure the athlete feels bought in most of the year, and then when they need a little break, you give them that break.
Yeah, it's funny because we're sort of talking a lot in a lot of ways to the athlete who is probably executing in this way on their own, doing their own thing. And like, it's a really complicated topic about whether you're going to buy in to yourself, whether you trust yourself, whether like, oh, well, yeah, I wrote 9 chest to bar, but it started to break down. So it's probably supposed to be 7. So instead of breaking it into 2 sets like you would any other Metcon, you just do 7 in the next round. And then all of a sudden, every workout that you do is a descending ladder.
Wait, you do rounds? You do reps, I do rounds. Yeah. Just take a couple rounds off this.
So like try to think about it from that perspective. Like we love the idea of people creating action items when it comes to podcasts like this. So, write down on a piece of paper what you think you would want out of a relationship with a programmer or a coach. And then ask yourself, can I be all of these things for myself and be the athlete I'm supposed to be? and do all of these things. Is it possible for me to execute on that?
To me, like when you go down that rabbit hole, if you're somebody who has the capability, maybe you are a coach, whether it's at an affiliate or you coach other athletes, whatever. If you are a coach and you are proficient at programming, then you hopefully know the kind of the nuance and the requirement to write an effective, well-rounded program is not insignificant. Like you were saying, like that takes a lot of time. And it's again, like if you're also somebody who's trying to be competitive, you're somebody who knows what they're doing programming wise, like fuck, that's a lot of time and energy spent writing a well-rounded program and then having the energy and desire to execute it as well. There's just too many places for it to go suboptimally that it's like, why would you?
I also think there's something we haven't quite maybe touched on yet, and that's the accountability of not having anyone other than yourself to be accountable to. Like if you or I are working out in our garage and we're like, you know what, it was 5 chest of bar, but now it's 0 because I'm gonna go home and like sit on the couch and eat pizza because I'd rather eat pizza than do that next round of
Well, that's why we
pull-ups.
text each other dumb shit that no one actually wants to hear.
Yeah.
You're putting the accountability out there. That's why you have an Instagram story where it's like, wow, Sherb posted his workout again. Like that's you holding yourself accountable through the public, because there would be people who care enough about what you're up to, what you're doing, that'd be like, you haven't posted in a while. Does that mean
you haven't done it anymore?
You're not doing it anymore? Like that sort of thing. So like the accountability factor when you're out on your own is, holy shit. Like it's a really big
super
deal.
important. I mean, I think that's, talking about the social media thing we've going around right now is Sunday miles. Like we both are trying to get better at running. So every Sunday after you get done your running, you post your Apple Watch readout of what you ran at. And it's like, hey man, you went 4 miles. Good job today. But it's not really like, hey man, look how fast I ran. It's just like, look, I did this. And like,
Speak for yourself.
let's stay into this groove, because you or I both know that that's going to be a really impactful thing on our fitness. But like the accountability is what I'm after. And, I know social media gets a bad rap for like being like attention seeking, but it really is nothing more in this situation than something that keeps you accountable so that you keep doing it over and over again, the same way a training partner would if you were, working out day to day in the affiliate.
Well, and there's another layer to that is the believability factor of like, are you just some nerd who's figured this out and is like hidden in a room somewhere? Or like, do you live this life enough to where your athletes would be like, you wouldn't fucking do that. It's like, come on down to CrossFit Red Rum and watch
too many stupid ideas
watch
I've
the
done.
smoke pour off of my body because it's 0 degrees in my garage. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's super important to me. It's, going back to like playing high school sports. It's like when I ask you to do something, I should be willing to do some version of that myself. Now, granted, I can't do all the things that some of those high level athletes do, but like, I'm not going to ask you to do something if I wouldn't be willing to try it, at least
there was
myself.
always that coach that would jump into Okies and like lay someone the fuck out. And it's like, can we just talk about the fact that you're 47 and I'm 14?
You're also 150 pounds
Yeah.
more than
I don't
me.
know
Just
how does that work, because it happens at like hot, like you see it in like NHL documentaries too.
Yeah.
Like a coach will just fucking dangle around a professional athlete, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, how do you do that?
They do it because like when you're an athlete and you're put into that position, like you're on fucking red alert.
Yeah.
And the coach is like the Wile E. Coyote, typically
No expectation.
in those scenarios.
Wild card.
Like in hockey, it's like, I know you're going to over pursue. And I'm going to make this look super easy. Whereas if this happened in a game, you would never let it happen.
Yeah.
Like in a million years. I love that
So
shit.
great.
It's great.
One other thing that, or kind of going back to the programming side, like, so let's again say that you are somebody who's at least proficient enough in programming to write a good workout or write a few good workouts. Like thinking about our programming meetings, like all 3 of us contribute in different fashions to the overarching Misfit Athletics program that filters all the way down to affiliates. But like, even so, Sherb is writing bitch work. How many times do we say to ourselves, or Sherb personally, like, I think you're putting your own personal bias into this workout.
Oh yeah, we do it all the time.
Same with like the Metcons and strength stuff that we write. It's like, are we actually writing, is this a good piece? Or and when I say like, nah, I really think that we should bump the calories on the assault bike down. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's just like, no, you just fucking hate the assault bike and you're 170 pounds. Like, grow up.
Or
got rocks in your pockets?
hatchet. Hunter wants to hatchet women's calories to be higher. So
I'm
he doesn't
sick of
lose
it.
in class.
1-to-1, please.
Yeah. Talking to
gonna give a shout out
all
to the
the
Misfit
all the
Gym
hatchet
women
women
because
for waxing
holy
me on
shit.
every single assault bike piece
Monsters.
ever. They're freaks. But yeah, I mean, even like writing just the workouts that we are writing for everybody else, it's like there is a small amount of personal bias that we put into our own workouts and that each of us have to call each other out on. So unless you are really proficient at writing workouts and then B, really proficient at playing 2 or 3 different people to audit them, like you there's going to be some sort of bias and there's going to be something that you're missing.
We're saying we can't even do it and we're not writing them for ourselves.
Yeah.
I was just going to say this phenomenon of this 3 people in this room going through workouts together as a group and still like not coming to an agreement at first with some of these things and bouncing off ideas, like is the exact reason why having a coach is so good. Or like, you know, I used to work out in the morning before the kid came and said, hey Brandon, what do you think of this? And he'd send me something back, try this. Like it's a game that we play with one another, even outside of programming meetings. We're like, try these like farmer's lunge holds or whatever, or try this, you know, dumbbell step up with 100-pound dumbbell on your shoulders, because I'm thinking about sprinkling it in. And it's feedback that we get from one another about like, how does this work together? And realizing that it's sort of like an art. It's not a perfect science. It's a little bit random, and it comes from us talking to one another and kind of figuring these out as a group. And I really do think that's what makes the programming so great, is that it's a 3-headed monster instead of one person with their own biases.
Well, it's funny because it's like you have like, what's our success rate on the epiphanies that we personally have within a Metcon, right? So like we've had a shitload of these during the pandemic because we've all had to figure out weird ass ways to get workouts done. So like you'll do a combination of movements that you were just sort of forced into.
Yep.
Like we had, you know, for me, like I'm looking at Misfit Anywhere and I'm like, okay, I still don't necessarily have the right like dumbbell weights or whatever to get this stimulus. So I'm going to change it to this, or like I can't pull from the floor or squat. So that throws a wrench into almost every Metcon ever. And you have one of those things where you're just like, man, this combination of movements is fucking electric. And it's like, maybe it is, or maybe it is for me.
Yeah.
And then it's like this movement, like you were just saying, I started doing the farmer's hold lunges instead of the front rack, because the front rack, like you're like outside and you're sweaty and you get your shirt off during the summer and you tear a bunch of skin off of your body. Like Sherb wouldn't have to because he holds his dumbbells out to the side. Shots fired. And
Dumbbell thruster tip video now live.
It's only because mine are heavy enough to do so.
Oh. What'd you get in that 20.2?
Shut your mouth.
what's your 1 rep max thruster? 225?
10 pounds.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Hashtag stronger than sure. So like you have these moments, and sometimes it's like, holy shit, that is an excellent variant on a new movement. Keep things fresh. And then other times it's like, well, no, you like a descending rep scheme because of X, or you like an ascending rep scheme because of X, or like we call Sherb slow twitch man. Like Sherb would put like 75 rounds of assault bike sprints if it wasn't for Hunter and I, because he can continue to repeat his output at like a freakish level. And it's like, first of all, even if someone can do it, are we trying to see if it's possible to have a negative HRV?
Sherb's still doing assault bike
it's really
survivor.
fun until you do assault bike survivor. Then it's fucking purgatory. You never get to leave.
He's still doing it. He's got 3 more minutes of rest till he's got to do his other 10 calories.
Right. So again, like these
seconds.
things are all the way at a level where you are trying to program for someone else, and this stuff still pops up.
Absolutely.
And like that part of it's just super important. And like for us, we find certain things to be both more important and more challenging as coaches. And it has almost nothing to do with programming, right? It has to do with this idea that like we need, whether we're actually remote coaching someone or like one of the really cool things that we're going to start doing here in the next phase is each program is going to have a dedicated coach. So it's almost like a, you know, bird's eye view type of remote coach situation that everyone is going to have that follows any Misfit Athletics program. And like that sort of like, we need, no matter what the level is, that buy-in to be there, more than we need the programming itself to be exactly perfect for the athlete. And that goes back to Hunter talking about like, we will never, ever, and if we do, find me, slap me in the face, punch me in the face, whatever you got to do.
Punch
we will
Sherb in the
never,
nuts.
yes. If I say it, punch Sherb in
Good
the
luck.
face. I don't even know what that means. Like we need that buy-in. It's not, we know that it's the athlete. We know the athlete is the one that's going to make or break their own career, their personal fitness, whatever it is. We cannot take credit for that. Like, and some people do that and it's more of like a marketing tactic, advertising thing, but it feels so wrong to us that like we hope that it never feels that way, that we're going there. We believe in our programming. We will defend it to the death and we will keep making it better. But if the athlete does not buy in and the athlete does not execute, we can't do a whole lot for them. And it's better that way.
I completely agree. I mean, with our remote coaching service that we offer, that's almost the first thing I start with every conversation with a brand new athlete. It's like, this service will work for you, but you have to buy into it, because there are a bunch of good programs out there, but if you don't believe in it, and you don't follow it, and you don't have the understanding of what we're looking to do with this program and whatever your goals are, understand that like, doesn't matter what the program is, you have to buy into it. And that, I think, begins that conversation about, all right, like I have your mental side on like considered as well as your physical side, because I do think that's primarily our role, is to be that like sounding board off an athlete's thoughts or how things are going. So that's always where I start with an athlete. And I do think that sets the tone for a very good relationship down the road. It's not like, oh, it's because you didn't program the third day of thrusters this week is why I did bad in the open workouts. Like, no, like we bought into doing certain things a certain way, and this is how we're going to get better at them. So we need you to understand that this ownership of what your fitness is going to become starts with you, but use me as a resource. Just know that it does start with you.
You guys warm in here?
What
it's a bit
sort
warm.
of?
It is
So?
toasty. But
Wow.
you sweating through that thing?
Yeah.
I am too, but you
shouldn't
can't
wear
see
this.
it. You
I should
can't
wear this
see
color.
it
You're wearing
because I'm wearing the Ballin' Ass new STA black camo hoodie, dropping Wednesday, October 28th.
Yes.
Drew's long sleeve Misfit Athletics tee as well. Sherby's got the slightly older Little by Little collection, but this hoodie's pretty sweet. I was actually super excited with how this came out. They do run a little bit small. I'm wearing a large.
Yeah, you know they're small if Hunter's
Usually
wearing a large.
easy guy. Come on, I'm trying to do a promo here. Don't forget, use the code Unprepared to save a little bit of cash on that next drop. There's a whole bunch of goodies coming your way. Carry on.
Nice job.
Thanks.
So let's talk a little bit about, like, I don't want to say not competitor, because again, that's to me a little bit too much of a gray area. But if you are someone who follows the blog that is just not either interested in going to the CrossFit Games or know that you're not going to get to sort of that elite sanctional level, what sort of luxuries should you afford yourself as an athlete while still following the program? What sort of leeway can you give yourself? And I'm going to give you guys an example. When I quote unquote program for myself, I can do it. I can get it done. It's pretty good, but there's something different about when I go find like a bitch work piece that Sherb has written. There's something different about it. I just feel like the buy-in's there. Someone else wrote this for me. He knows that I'm supposed to blah, blah, blah. I'll text him and say, what pacing do you think I should try to hold on this? And there's just something different about it. And we've sort of already covered that. But for me, like my ability to sprint over and over with short rest periods means absolutely fuck all to me. I don't care. Right. So if we have a dose that we're looking for, and it's easiest one to talk about is the assault bike sprints, right? There's a lot of instances where you go too hard in the first one and 3 minutes feels like 3 seconds and you're screwed, right? For me, I make sure that I get 3 to 5 really good sprints in. And if I got to rest 7 minutes to get there, I will. And I feel very comfortable with it. It's not, to me, like in any way, shape, or form, like a cop-out. I think it's almost a cop-out to allow myself to go again at 800 watts instead of 1600 watts. You know what I mean?
I think what you're describing is, understanding how the pace is supposed to feel. Like one thing that's really important to us when we provide workout descriptions right now is for you to understand what we're after. And I do think that when you write for yourself, sometimes
I can't send again.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Sometimes you do those things. You're like, you know what? I can't do this, or I can't focus on the one thing, or I'm a little bit torn between should I be able to repeat this or should I be sprinting every single time? So when you have that one responsibility taken off your shoulders and you just read, you are supposed to send, you're like, cool, got the objective, got the directive. I'm going to go do that. And there's no other wasted energy battling yourself back and forth going, should I be able to repeat this or am I supposed to sprint? So for me, a lot of times doing someone else's workout, with some instruction allows me to be like, all right, it's just up to me to execute now. And it makes it more about the physical output into the workout than it is like, oh, I don't know if I should do it this way or that way, because that a lot of times can derail you to the point where you're like, you know what, it's easier to sit on the couch. So for me, it's nice to have that information presented to me in a way to think about
and
it.
It's not a news flash that games athletes are not afforded this luxury. Like every once in a while, yeah, if we've got weakness work and I need to put more rest in there so that eventually you can get to that point, that's fine. But for everyone else, like we get so many, like that's one of the top questions out there. And it's not insanely applicable directly to our sport, but people are like, I can't repeat sprints on the assault bike. And it's like at some point you have to allow yourself to repeat sprints to then be able to eventually work towards, I want to be able to do that every 3 minutes, do blah, blah, blah. But like, is it really that big of a deal if you're, one of those athletes that wants to go compete at the in the RX division at sanctionals or, who knows, whatever the hell they're called now when it's going to happen. But like, is it a big deal?
When's the Open, Castro?
Like,
He's definitely listening.
I would really like to know that. Like, is that a big deal to go every 4 minutes instead for that athlete?
No, it doesn't fucking matter. Like it's like even as
To sprint, you must sprint.
it all like from our perspective, all of the training pieces we write, we try our best to make it. It's a well-rounded program. We've got kind of the variable training system where it's like choose your own weakness work, but you have to understand like even the individual pieces, even the nuances within the individual pieces are still so personalized that like don't get wrapped around the axle in those little like details. Try to, like you said, try to understand, try to look at the training piece and understand what is trying to be extracted from it. And then if you have to modify it a little bit, like it's not that big of a deal. We saw it so many times with people over the course of kind of the quarantine period where it's like people all of a sudden got fitter with like these random ass workouts and objects and stuff like that and things that they'd never done before. And they came back into the gym and not only hadn't lost a lot of fitness, but felt a lot better in some different ways. So I think it's important, especially for somebody who's not all that concerned about competing. And I would put myself in that category too, because there are days when I see the gyms workout, which I helped program, that I'm like, no,
Just don't make that noise ever
don't
again.
do that. I don't want to do that. And there will be days that I'm like, nope, I'm just not going to do that today. And then there are other days where I say to myself, like, okay, you had one, you got your one, get out there and do the assault bike sprints. And that's a little bit different because I try to put myself out there for the affiliate athletes. Like if it's a really shitty workout, like I'm going to be out there too. I'll make sure that, don't worry, I'll get the pain too. I know what you guys are feeling, but
it's like an 80-20 rule right there. Like 80% of the time you'll try to follow along with what your plan was originally. And 20% of the time it's okay to say, all right, I'm going to, change things up a little bit. I'm being my own coach, my own programmer. So I feel like I can't give this a good effort again. I'll give myself another minute. And if that allows me to hit the objective, then good, because it's more important that you go in and you keep doing it day after day than it is that you stuck to your exact plan every single time, because then that can lead to burnout and frustration. Like every single time I write something, it's bad or wrong. Like that is a mental load that you do not need every single time you train.
And another good example is when I think like, we write like chest to bar pull-ups inside of a workout, and we say to ourselves like, okay, what for this workout, I want to pick a number, like what is the new standard? What is the number of chest to bar pull-ups that we expect every athlete to always be able to hop up to the pull-up bar and do? In 2014, it was, 5, and 2016, it was 10, and now it's like 15 or something like that. So we pick that number, we talk about it in the office, we put it out there for the public, but it fucking might not apply to you. Like, okay, change that number. Yeah, change that number for you. And sometimes that's a little tough because we don't put necessarily that note in there like, hey, we're asking you to do a repeatable
There would be a note
set
on
here.
Every movement, weight, rep scheme
exactly.
ever if we tried to pull that off.
Again, it's like, we realize that even what we think is the best program is still maybe not quite personal enough for you, and you can still feel free to adjust it, and you're still going to get fitness.
The angle that Go ahead. Joe,
Yeah, I was just going to ask you a question about your bike sprints. Yeah, I was going to ask you about your bike sprints. How much proper recovery do you take after your bike sprints?
4 scoops.
4 scoops. Now, what
Growth
is
protocol.
that? Yeah, the growth protocol. Head to properfuel.co. Use the code word Misfit to save a little green on your first order. Go ahead, Drew.
I mean, it is true. I have different, my scoop amounts. Of course I have a system for it. But I have like a specific system. Like it's 2 scoops. If I like just did like some flush work, that kind of thing. If I do CrossFit, it's probably 3 scoops. If I do CrossFit plus some lifting, it's 4 scoops. And if I trash my central nervous system, which isn't that hard for me to do, I do the 4 scoops.
Yeah.
So that's the 4 scoop club.
4 scoop gang.
So bit of a left turn, right turn, U-turn, backflip. We have been
Coming phase 8.
We have been, yes, we're double backflip though. None of that fucking single shit. So we've been talking a lot about programming, and then we've been talking a lot about the coach-athlete relationship. 2 extremely important things to us. But we need to address eyes on coaching. You people out there in internet land, listening in your car, wherever you are, you would not believe how many high-level athletes have never had eyes-on movement coaching. That is typically one of the biggest aha moments when a games-level athlete finally gives in, gets a coach. It's like, I don't know how you got to where you are with whatever that thing is that you're doing. And obviously they got there through, hard work, perseverance, like they, grind through it. And that is super important. But
Now imagine if you did it right.
exactly though. And that honestly is one of the ways that we get that buy-in. It's like, man, I suck at muscle ups. And it's like, how do you check off every possible box of fitness and strength and, all of these things, but you can't put it together on here because it's a technical problem. And the issue here is not that some of these athletes don't understand how it should be done. It's this idea that we're positive we're doing something that we're not actually doing. For me, like I can teach anyone to get much, much better with their rowing technique. It's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I study, both from, what's different about CrossFit rowing from general rowing, all these different things. What's the physics of it? Like I cannot coach myself on the rower because I'm positive that I'm doing the things that I ask people to do. And then I see myself rowing and it is terrifying. And like,
It's a family thing. I've seen it firsthand.
it is a family thing.
It's a Crandall curse.
It is.
Claire's about to punch through the back.
Oh yeah. Fly through the wall.
Just knock sure about.
But like we all have these ideas of how we're moving. And even if we understand how to execute, it does not mean that we're actually executing. And without I love video review. I love coach design, drawing weird things on people's videos and doing the voiceover and all that. In-person
Those kind of
coaching,
things, sure. Grow up.
in-person coaching like live while you're doing the thing. You're in a set of muscle ups. You're not staring across the gym at the wall anymore. Like your feet are coming, you're leaving your feet up, through your transition. You're on the rower and it's like, oh, but you lost it there. You got 10 strokes, but turns out typically in a rowing workout, there's more than 10. And typically it's a little bit different if you have to, go run a 400 and then get back on the rower. You feel a little bit different. You move a little bit different. So that's one of the things where no matter where you are in your journey on this entire spectrum, you need to get a movement expert, someone that really understands human movement to watch you exercise and make comments in real time while you're exercising.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to deliver 90 cues to someone mid-workout. You want to be able to pick out that one thing that they're going to be able to I'll go over to Caroline while she's working out and I'll say, I'm going to start talking to you. Do not acknowledge me. Do not get distracted, whatever it is.
Did that in the open workout, wasn't it?
I'll do it. I'll just walk out and see her out there. And it's on your next set, focus on this.
Yep.
Like that kind of thing. Just one single thing. And man, you can make some serious changes because I know for me as a coach, I am devastated when someone puts the work in and then doesn't get the results. It fucking breaks my heart. Like the people who don't put that much work in and then have pretty decent results kind of rub me the wrong way a little bit. It's just like, Cause partially because that was me when I was younger. I was like, yeah, well, I mean, I can get by with being pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
not trying to be great at anything. So when someone is trying so hard to be great at something, they're really just doing all the right things. And we've got so many examples of that in the Misfit community. Like, oh, it hurts when it's like a movement efficiency thing. It's fucking brutal.
You described one thing that's really important as a coach that I think about quite often when I'm trying to work with an athlete remotely, because you're not necessarily in person, but it also applies if you are in person. And that's giving someone a bite-sized chunk of information, because like you were just describing, if Caroline was doing a workout and you gave her 15 things to think about, she's going to do 0 of them. So for me, that's what's so great about finding someone like this and doing it in real time, is you try to give them one single thing. Hey, when you're pulling the bar from the floor, keep your feet flat. Or when you snatch, move your feet on every single rep. Or when you do your chest to bar, make sure you're not running into the bar. Like, little things like that go a long way versus giving someone a laundry list, which again goes back to that psychology of like, oh my goodness, fucking coach gave me 15 things I'm terrible at. Like, how am I going to, what's the plan to fix all these things? Versus, this is the glaring issue right now. Let's do this one thing right now, and then see how that impacts our fitness, and then gives them that test and retest, that proof of concept that you're getting better at something.
Yeah. And for just to quickly, like, if you're a coach and you're listening to this and you're still in your early stages and you're flooded with information and you have all this knowledge that you're dying to get out there, we know these things because we did it the wrong way 10 years ago.
Guilty.
Like, that's how you understand these things. You learn that you have this wealth of knowledge, and the only way that it's going to mean anything to anyone else aside from you is to synthesize it down into something that makes sense when you're communicating with another person.
For the specific athlete too.
Exactly. So like, if you're listening to this and you're still really frustrated when someone doesn't execute, when you give them the exact information that they need, like, it's okay. We've all been there. We all had to learn how to do this sort of thing. And like, it's not just about narrowing it down to one cue. It's about understanding something so deeply that you can say something really profound in very simple terms.
And understanding the athlete's psyche and providing them with the correct way of communicating.
I was
so many angles to it.
There's so many people you can say, hey, that fucking sucked, do it again. And some people that's gonna break. I think one of my master's athlete is like that. Ian, like, he's fucking, he'll smash his head into the wall if you tell him to, and he responds a lot of times to that sort of mentality. Whereas other athletes, like, hey, don't worry about it. Let's take it a little bit easier today. Like, you gotta be a little bit more mommy.
I just think it's important as the coach to realize that, like, if you're focusing on one thing and that first attempt doesn't go through well, that in your like coaching tool belt, that you have other ways to address that same problem that hopefully, again, work with the athlete's psyche, but also maybe helps them learn in a way that's better for them. Maybe it's not visual, it's tactile, or it's, a verbal cue. And it's just something that's going to make you a better coach and help that athlete not think about the 15 other things they need to focus on. That one way to get better. And here's a couple different ways to address that if the first way doesn't go well.
Athletes that are very hard on themselves do not need your help.
No.
Making it harder on themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of athletes are very self-critical when it comes to certain things. And those are the types of athletes where you don't need to pile on. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to do something like that. There are other athletes who just kind of go for it and do it, and they respond well to that because, like, people do need, criticism in a way, like, sort of the Bill Belichick system. Like, if you're not going to respond to this, if you're just going to be a baby about it, like, no, he's the kind of person who can just say, you're not on my team anymore, which he does fairly regularly. But like, there's a way to get through to certain people like that. And like, the funny thing is, if the person is like insanely talented, that's the only time in the Belichick system where it's like, well, we'll keep him around because of, X, Y, and Z, and I'll use the kid gloves. So even someone as hardline, like, I'm going to scream in your face exactly what you're doing wrong every second, like, understands that to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that to me, that's the keeping the athlete in that like even keel position. Like, as a coach, we're almost like responsible to reflect whatever they like gravitate towards. We're kind of in the opposite end of that spectrum to make sure they stay balanced, to stay focused. Because, if you always tell your kid is, you're great, you're great, you're great, you're great, they're going to think they're great and never think there's anything to work on. So there's definitely a delicate balance, and certain athletes require a certain talking to, like you were just saying with Ian, and some of your other athletes are talked to a different way. It's just important to know that like there's times and places to use these things, and they're not universal.
The athletes that are hypercritical and have a tough time like turning it on and off, and like maybe go home and carry it with them stress wise would benefit a ton from taking Pure Spectrum CBD. And I'm dead serious. That is how I draw a line in my day every single day. When I feel like it's time for me to go from fight or flight, which I wish I wasn't in fight or flight when I'm working, but I need to get riled up to put some really good work in. So when I feel like I need to like draw that line and get into the rest and digest and like recover from all the shit that I've done, even if it's pre-workout, I will take Pure Spectrum CBD Black Label. You can head to purespectrumcbd.com, use the code word misfit to save. We chuckle at each other because we're trying to find like an organic way to put this in, but we actually do use all of these. That was probably the best one. We do use all of these products and we do believe in them. That's how you can be a sponsor of this podcast. If you have, essential oils or some sort of candle or,
He's trying to get a candle sponsorship. Damn it.
We were talking about trying to get a hot dog sponsorship.
Nathan's, are you out there? Are you listening?
Joey Chestnut, look it up. All right. I think we've covered it all. We've covered quite a bit.
We went from programming to
Nathan's hot dogs,
psyche of coaching to Nathan's hot dogs.
Oof. I want you to eat 50 hot dogs at once.
Can the people hear that?
I love that. All
Perfect.
Right. That's our pump up. Instead of the we turn the lights off and Ted presses that button a bunch of times. It's very exciting. All right. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts for me. It's just
final thoughts. That's a really good question for me. Typically when I'm going
to do my final thoughts, biggest thing is find other people to be in your like ecosystem as an athlete, whether that's someone who's going to be programming for you, be your coach, or someone who's just going to come work out with you to keep you motivated. Try to find other people. I mean, we talk about this with the Misfit Project. It's important to have a tribe around you. It takes a village around you to be a successful athlete, whether that's for health or for, being at the pinnacle of the sport. Find these people to help motivate you, keep you enthusiastic. And again, it makes the burden psychology a lot less like damning on you. It's much easier when you have other people who are like, the day you don't want to get up, it's like, hey man, you said 7:30, I'm down in your garage, let's go. Like for me, like we talked to my wife about quarantine, like inviting people over. Yes, it was a nuisance because the dogs went crazy and she's trying to sleep and she was pregnant. And like probably couldn't have been a worse time to invite people over, but it helped keep me accountable and it helped keep them accountable. So for me, it's about finding that ecosystem of people who can help you and using those people to your advantage and then helping someone else, like paying it forward.
I think it comes down to kind of not how serious you want to take it, but what you're looking to get out of it. You've got your car's dirty. You could probably handle that. You're going to go wash your car on your own. You need a new alternator. You're going to go to a mechanic and get that done. I think it just comes down to how seriously you want to take it and how far you want to push it. When you start to cross into that threshold where you think you're not sure if you can handle this on your own, take it to a professional.
Guy, I'll fix your alternator. Don't worry.
Oh my goodness. What is an alternator, Sherb?
It charges your battery when you're driving.
He's like, it alternates which wheels are working.
Rotary girder.
Spins the wheels, right?
Mine, I'm not really stealing hunters. I'm not really saying the same thing, but it's along the same lines of, just talking about the, like, where are you at? What's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? And I think the answer at the highest level, the 50,000 foot view is no one should be in this alone at all. And then how much leeway you're given has to do with your goals and then where you're currently at. Like, and leeway again is not like we want to substitute for your hard work. We want to give you leeway, or someone should give you the leeway to succeed when you need that help. Like that's really important. That is going to lead to you believing in yourself and having the confidence to execute when it's time to actually do that. Like that is an incredibly important thing. And I think that people that spend 12 months a year, like sprinting into the wall, the recovery's not there, both physically and mentally, everything kind of feels the same. Your intensity feels high, but that could just be because you're under recovered and stressed. Like, there are a lot of athletes that go through that trajectory where like you're young and you've got the hormones and the energy and whatever, and you do respond really well to that volume. And then it needs to start backing down a little bit. And you need someone to tell you that that's okay. Like I have a lot of athletes right now that are getting ready for the Open, and we are just ultra targeted on what they're trying to get better at. And like, we'll sprinkle some stuff in that like gets them their movements that they're missing by not having that third crazy piece. But like we are ultra targeted. And when it comes from me, that this is the strategy that they need, they can just go do it. They can just go execute. Like I talk about like the phenomenon of like, it's different to look at 5 pieces that you need to get a day and figure out how you're going to make it through all of them. Then you have one piece, you write it on the whiteboard and you just stare at it and you're like, how can I crush this? How can I move the needle as much as possible? And those are the kinds of things where you need that support system, whether it's a coach, whether it's a friend, whether it's some quasi, whatever. Like, I think we're really just sort of saying that you need a support system and that like it's easy to develop one when you have a really good community backing you, like something like Misfit Athletics.
Agreed.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gents, that was the Unprepared podcast by Misfit Athletics. Thank you again to our show sponsors, Sharpen the Axe. You can head to sharpentheaxecode.com and use the code word unprepared to save money on the Misfit Athletics TBT collection. Wednesday, October 28th, that is going to drop. PureSpectrumCBD.com. Use the code word misfit. Properfuel.co to save on proper recovery, your all-in-one post-workout nutrition solution. Use the code word misfit to save on your first order. And we're obviously brought to ourselves by ourselves. MisfitAthletics.com, TeamMisfit.com, or head to the Sugar Wad Marketplace. If you listen to this podcast and think maybe we drop some decent nuggets every once in a while and you want to check the stuff out, 2-week free trial, basically everywhere. As always, I'm at Misfit Coach on Instagram. Slide into those DMs. Let me know what you thought of the episode, what you would like to hear next. We'll see you next time.